So if you're watching this video, it's probably either because you're weighing up your own relationship with alcohol, or you've just decided to give up for good and you're wondering, was that the right choice to make? Am I on the right path? And you want some reassurance about that. And hopefully this video is going to help people in both of those situations. And first, for a bit of context, I'm Sam, I'm 30 years old, and I was what I'd call a problematic binge drinker. So I never drank every day or first thing in the morning, but often when I would drink, I found it very difficult to stop. And that obviously led to loads of really not ideal things like blacking out, doing drugs, letting myself down, letting others down, and just not getting to where I wanted to in life. And I think like our definition of what a problem with alcohol is really quite outdated. Like if we're not drinking every day first thing in the morning, then it's not a problem. But really, I think there are two ways of defining it. The first is not being able to choose when you drink, i.e. drinking every day and not being able to stop that. But the second type of problem that I think I fell into was not being able to stop once you start drinking, however like infrequent that might be. And in terms of making the decision to give up drinking, I wouldn't look at it as, is alcohol causing my life to be in a crisis? But instead, is alcohol giving more to my life than it's taking away? And it's funny because for anything else in our life, if it was a job, if it was a relationship, a diet, if it was more negative than it was good, we wouldn't think too much about removing it. But with alcohol, it seems to be a bit different because we're conditioned into thinking that you can't live a happy life without it, which is just not true. And I'm going to get into now why that is and all of the amazing things that happen when you decide to cut it out of your life, as well as being real about some of the difficulties that you probably will face as well. It's perfectly fine if you feel really sad or worried about the decision to give up drinking, because I did as well in the beginning. It wasn't like this super feel good, ecstatic, my life's going to transform for the better sort of thing in the beginning. It felt like mourning a part of me that was dying effectively. I was this happy-go-lucky, go out binge drinker that on the face of it was, feeling great in the life of the party. So I was thinking, who am I going to be without that social glue, like bringing me together with everyone? But as I'm going to get into now, it's really just an illusion anyway. And the ways in which your life grows in the absence of alcohol far outweighs any of those things, and your life can still be fantastic socially when you're not drinking. But the first benefit that I want to talk about is that by giving up drinking, you become someone that you can actually be proud of. And what I mean by that is, when I was drinking, it left the door open for these crazy nights where I'd go out, spend loads of money, let myself down, let others around me down, wake up feeling embarrassed at messages I'd sent, things that I'd done, said, whatever it might be. And the truth is, at the age of 31, that just doesn't align with who I want to be anymore. And by not drinking, I can guarantee that I'm never ever going to wake up again feeling embarrassed, ashamed, guilty, whatever it might be. So even forgetting all of the other benefits, like that alone is reason enough to not drink again for me personally. So that's the first thing I'd say. You'll become someone that you can actually be proud of. And that's a pretty important thing. The next way that my life has massively changed for the better is in terms of finances. It's kind of related to the last thing I was saying. But when I was drinking, I was $5,000 in debt. I was asking my mates for money at the end of every month, and just to get through. Working in a job I hated, living in London, working for someone else. It was super stressful. My life was going nowhere really that I was like that proud of. And my life felt so restricted. And within 8 months of giving up drinking, I had quit my job, started my own business, and become a paid content creator. And it's difficult to say this stuff sometimes without sounding like some wanky self-help guru, but it's just true. Like, all of the time that you spend drinking, either drunk or hungover, if you channel that into positive things, you will be amazed at what you can achieve. And my life now just looks so different. I have the freedom to do what I want, to travel, to work the hours that I want. And that, again, in itself is reason enough for me personally to not go back to drinking. And one final thing I'd say there is, if you are thinking of giving up, or if you have given up, I think you really need to have some kind of passion project to channel that newfound energy into and to fill that space in time. Because otherwise, if you give up and you don't find anything to replace it with, you may well find yourself feeling a bit bored or even a bit empty. So make sure that you have something new to channel that energy into. Another thing I think is easy to forget is that, so for me personally, at the age of 31, I think I have something like 612 months left to live on this planet if I make it to the average life expectancy. And when I was drinking, I was effectively just living for the weekend, crossing the days out in the calendar, waiting for Friday, Saturday to arrive, and then not really remembering much of that anyway, feeling like shit for most of the week and then repeating it again. And really, life has to be about more than just that. There are so many beautiful places to see, beautiful people to meet, amazing activities activities to try. And then the most obvious one is that you're probably going to become the healthiest and happiest version of yourself that you've ever been. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that this is going to happen overnight, because we always hear these things, right? Like when you give up drinking, you're going to sleep amazingly, your mental health is going to transform overnight. And that's just not really the case. Of course, you're going to feel better pretty much immediately, and you will start sleeping a bit better. You will start feeling a bit less anxious and a bit more positive, but don't expect this grand transformation instantly. I think it's something that you build over time, and there are so many other things that also contribute to how good you're feeling, like how much exercise you're doing, what you're eating, all of these things. So don't expect it to be a silver bullet. Think of it more in the beginning as giving yourself the best chance to be your best self, and be patient. These benefits are going to take time to come through. I always struggled with things like anxiety, depression, all of these things, even getting to the point of not wanting to carry on with my life. And we don't realize so often that drinking alcohol is either the cause of or massively contributing to our poor mental health. So as soon as you remove that from the equation, you give yourself the best chance of feeling, the best that you can. And it's so funny, when I was drinking all the time, I'd take every supplement under the sun, hoping it was going to make me feel better, or, running crazy distances, all of these things, when in reality, the best thing that I could do was stop drinking. And then on to the next reality is the social side of things, which is probably the thing that people care most about. And I know it's the thing that I cared most about when I decided to give up drinking. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that it is really easy or is going to be perfect in the beginning, because like in my case, I spent probably 16 years of my adult life drinking. So socializing through alcohol is kind of all I knew. And the idea that you're going to remove that massively ingrained habit and again overnight feel really at ease in those situations and confident, etc., is just kind of not realistic. It's again something to see as a bit of a project, and with each time you go out, you start to feel a little bit more at ease, a little bit more confident. It starts to become a little bit more the norm. And what I have found is it just gets incrementally better over time. But I do think it's important to say as well that it is also a bit of a mindset. You will get out of the socializing thing what you put in. If you go into it thinking this is going to be terrible, I can never live without alcohol, and feeling all doomsday about it, then you're probably going to really struggle to overcome that mental block. Try and lie to yourself in the beginning. Try and say that you feel confident. Try and say that you never needed it, which is true, and you will discover it's true. But in the beginning, it's a little bit fake it till you make it. Like now, I've been to Ibiza sober, I've been on a sober stag do, I've done so many things that previously I could not have imagined without alcohol. And what you realize is that if people are your true friends, they really couldn't care less if you're drinking or not. And anybody that has any kind of issue with you not drinking, especially after you explain that it's because, it's causing you problems in your life or you're a lot better off without it, I mean, it would take a special type of person to give you any grief for that anyway. You'll also find loads of new ways of socializing, and the whole sober movement is massively growing as well. So more people nowadays are more into the outdoors scene than they ever were before. You'll find local clubs around you, whether it's run clubs or other activities, whatever it might be. There are so many other ways of socializing other than going to the pub or going out. And you're not banned from those activities anyway. Nobody's there with a censor knowing if you've drunk alcohol or not, and if you haven't, you're not allowed in. You can go everywhere, you can do everything, and with time you'll master those situations sober, I promise you. So how's it been going for me personally? And just for a bit more context as well, I did a year off alcohol last year with the intention of trying to reset my relationship with it and be able to reintroduce it into my life in a more healthy way. And after 6 months of trying to reintroduce it in a healthy way, surprise, surprise, I found out that, 1 out of every 3 nights or 1 out of every 4 nights turned into chaos again. And it just didn't align at all with who I was as a person. And I decided to quit. Everyone's different and everyone's relationship with alcohol is different. But yeah, I would just be mindful of that as well. The whole thinking that time off is going to reset your relationship with it. I personally found also that having that attitude of knowing that I was going to go back to alcohol at some point didn't force me to accept life without it and embrace life without it. I always kind of resented it in that first year and didn't engage with things socially that I maybe should have and all the rest of it. Whereas now that I know it's a forever thing, that I can never go back to drinking, should never go back to drinking, I feel a lot more at ease with it. I feel a lot more empowered and I'm feeling really positive about it. I'm not going to lie and say that it's all flowers and roses all the time. There are times where I resent it like anything in life, and there are times when those illusions creep back in and you're in a social situation and you feel a little bit uneasy or whatever. But really, that's a tiny price to pay for my life improving exponentially in almost every other area. My relationships are better. I've become someone that I can now start to be proud of. My career is going somewhere that it never ever would have gone before. I'm happier than I've ever been. And yeah, life's just about improved in every other way. So I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's all easy. It's not going to be plain sailing. But ultimately, if you made it to this part in the video, or you clicked on this video in the first place, it's probably because alcohol's not serving you in the way that you want anymore. And I just want you to know that you can live a really happy, successful life without alcohol having anything to do with it, and that actually you can be a lot better off without it. So follow along for the journey. I'll be sharing more on how this alcohol-free life is going, as well as loads of other things. And yeah, big love. I appreciate you all.